We're back with another episode of Boots, Balls and Bras, powered by Pepsi Max, proud sponsors of the UEFA Women's Euros. Myself, Fara Williams, and my amazing co-host, Anita Asante. We've got a couple of semi-finals to break down. No better place to start than England on Tuesday night against Italy, scraping through in the 118th minute, or should I say the 89th or 96th minute? I don't know where to start, but I guess the only place to start is that 96th minute equaliser and the impact that Agyemang, I know who you're absolutely obsessed with, and you spoke about her before, wanting her to be a wild card. She's absolutely been that for England. And I know a lot of the headlines were about Chloe Kelly because obviously she scored the winning goal. But for me and my point of view, Agyemang was 1,000,000% the difference for me. What did you make of her appearance?
I think she's just been fantastic throughout. You know, yes, I described her as a wild card, but I knew she'd deliver. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you worked with her.
Yeah, she's been in obviously the under-23s program, and actually only for a brief amount of time. But you know, the impact she's had there as well has been immense. And I think the maturity at which she speaks and the way she plays the game, the assuredness of which she plays the game is unreal to see. And you know, she has been the difference in such critical moments within those games. So for me, I'm delighted, and obviously, knowing that she's a Ghanaian heritage as well has an extra added kind of, connection.
I know your dad will be there rooting for her, right?
My family, everyone is jumping for joy. But, you know, she was one that when I got an England shirt, this current, season's England shirt, I was like, I have to get Agyemang on the back because I just know she's going to be an absolute superstar.
And she's been exactly that. I mean, look, we'll talk more about Agyemang. I just wanted to have a little brief, intro into her impact. But let's talk about the game as a whole. I mean, Italy, massive underdogs, going into that game, 6 games against England in the European competition, 1-5, only drawn 1 against England. So England have never beat Italy in the Euros before, but were massive underdogs. What did you actually make of England's performance against, a really underranked Italian team?
If I'm honest, I felt that it was another kind of dire performance. I'll be honest, because I feel like I expected at this point in the competition them to just really raise the levels and dominate that an Italian side that had just made history again, getting through to the semi-final, really show why they are the European champions, why their ranking is so high. I wanted to see that level of control. And I know that, of course, at this point in the competition, the gap gets a bit smaller. The teams are that much closer to the ultimate goal, winning a trophy. But it just felt that, England dominated the ball, which was, that's what we want to see. But it was more about volume, volume of attack, volume of possession than it was about the actual ability to break down Italy and their block and not play into Italy's strategy, which was to not only frustrate England, but to force them in areas that they wanted them to go in, that they could control them. They wanted England to play in wider areas and force them in those directions and stay compact centrally. And England absolutely played into that. And I remember, at half-time, I was like, why are we playing so linear? We're just playing direct balls, trying to fire it in behind the back line and the fullbacks who could read every single pass and control it. So I was frustrated from that perspective. But in terms of the character, the resilience, the ability to dig deep, the kind of know-how, really, that's brilliant. I'm proud that the girls have that ability within themselves to stay resilient and to keep fighting to stay in these games.
No, I mean, I would agree. I think, the positives you can take from that is that they never know when they're done. I think they've shown that, England. We never know when they're finished. I think all of us probably in the 95th minute, we're probably thinking that's their tournament, they're coming home, Wednesday, Thursday morning. But you're right, they've shown that resilience, they've shown that never say die attitude. But that is the only positives. And also an added positive is Agyemang, which we spoke about. But in terms of that, what you mentioned there about England playing into Italy's game plan, absolutely. From minute, the first opening 5 minutes, we had a chance really early on. I think it was Russo, I can't remember. And after that, I was like, the intensity. So yes, we dominated possession. But there's no point dominating possession without any intensity or any penetration within that. There was nothing. It was very slow and what Italy did was drew us into their game plan. Definitely. What they like to do, and we know we've played Italy plenty of times, is that They're very streetwise. That's one thing I would say about Italy. They don't look easy on the eye. They frustrate you. I mean, we were frustrated as fans.
Yeah.
So you saw the frustration in the players. I was, sat in Box Park with Alex Scott, and we was talking about it. And I was like, 89 minute in the game needs. England committed 20 fouls. Italy committed 2. What does that mean for England? Italy are breaking up their rhythm of play, stifling their momentum within the game, and England are falling into the trap. They kept putting balls into the box, as you mentioned. They were forced into wide areas. The crosses, the deliveries were poor.
Yeah.
And what did Italy want to do? 3 centre-halves want to defend it.
Yeah.
And they could, against an isolated Russo. I felt like Russo was so isolated. And then we make that sub. I mean, I don't know what you made about the half-time substitution. Obviously, we're not aware whether Lauren James is injured or not. She didn't look happy on the bench when the camera zoomed into her when she did come off. But you brought Beth Mead on, and I would say the difference in Beth Mead and Lauren James comes a little bit deeper. So I felt when Beth Mead did come on, and people say she didn't impact the game, well, she did slightly, because she kept the fullback a little bit more honest. So the left wing back wasn't able to push on as much, and Beth Mead was a little bit wider and higher, whereas in the first half, Lauren James didn't give us that. But you're still putting bodies or balls into the box with only 1 or 2 players maximum attacking it. Like, surely at that point when you're bringing wingers on, and even Chloe Kelly in 95th minute, we bring Chloe Kelly on, another winger, but still not a striker.
Yeah.
We waited until the 81st minute
to bring a striker
to make a double substitution and bring 2 strikers on.
Yeah.
2 young strikers at that. 19 years of age, I think the both of them, or 20 and 19, to make an impact on the game. Like, do you think that, like, I was frustrated, I'm obviously talking with frustration about the tactics, about the substitutions. It was like, I feel like when we look back to 22, everything that Serena did, strategic. I'm going to make these subs at this time, and I'm going to do it for this reason. Now it's like panic mode. I feel like Serena's gone into this panic mode, and it's like, right, we've got to throw absolutely everything at this game because we need a goal.
Yeah.
And she just throws them on, and it's like, do what you want and try and get us a goal. And if you do, lucky us. But what do you make of the way she's managing the subs this tournament to the previous 2 tournaments we've seen her in?
Yeah, I think, again, I know the frustration is, why doesn't she make the substitutions a bit earlier as well, so that they have a bit more time to really impact the game? I think that would maybe, on my part, would feel fair in terms of a critique. Like, why aren't we doing that? Like, why aren't we giving them the best possible opportunity to really have an inroads in those games? In terms of wingers, I think if you're chasing a goal, naturally you want natural-born goal scorers on the pitch, I think,
players, right?
In a knockout game where you're potentially going out. So I agree. I didn't really understand why we didn't choose to make a striker substitution first, and much earlier, whether that be Aggie Beaver-Jones, who would have been able to help us just stretch that back line.
We needed someone closer to Russo.
Yeah, someone who could play off of Russo as well, because Russo's got such good hold-up play as well. Her and Aggie would actually be a naturally good, I think, combination, because Aggie is good at stretching the pitch, running and beyond. She's honest in pressing and things like that. That was a surprise. I think the other difference or frustration was it felt like we didn't have any ideas. We didn't have any ingenuity. We got to the final third and it was like, let's just swing a ball into the box and hope for the best and hope that maybe Italy make a mistake or the goalkeeper flaps at the ball. There was no opposite movement. There was no changing of tempo and injection of that. There was no kind of like, how do we draw these defenders into spaces they don't want to go into and defend? So for me, that was the biggest frustration. And again, it felt like a lot of what we were trying to do was a bit off the cuff. Yeah,
in the end. Definitely
at the end. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I would agree. I felt like the in-game players didn't have the solutions, I guess, to what Italy were presenting. And we couldn't break that down. And we just did the same thing. As I said, the subs, I know everyone's, because Chloe Kelly scored and Agyemang, is that they had the impact. I wouldn't say they did anything different than the players that were starting before. What they did do, I think Agyemang had the biggest impact, because obviously she got the goal. I thought Beth Mead, people said, I've heard some comments, Beth Mead didn't have an impact. Why did they put Beth on before Chloe Kelly? Well, actually, Beth Mead was involved in the first goal in terms of her run across the goal, that then the ball then fell to Agyemang and then she won the penalty. Yeah. So you talk about impact, there's 2 impacts in the final third. That was in goal. You talk goal involvements. Well, she's just had the 2 of them, and it's been some of the stuff. Exactly. Yeah. Some of the stuff I've read is like it should have been Chloe Kelly. Well, actually, she was involved in both goals. Yeah. So it wasn't a bad substitution. But I think the frustrating thing for me is that when we played and we had opportunities to have players in game that would problem solve and try to do something different. And I feel like we don't have that. We have leaders in different ways, but not leaders that are prepared to stick their neck on the line and be like, right, I'm going to change it for this, for the better of the team, to give us half a chance. And we just stuck in that route, throughout the game until Agyemang, as I said, come in. And I know everyone's talking about, the chaos she creates, but it's not even the chaos she creates. She has quality.
Yeah.
Like, I think that we're completely missing the point that actually the quality that Agyemang and the composure that she comes into the game with. I mean, her goal, for example, the composure to take the touch and finish, and then the chance she had in extra time.
The chance where she hit the crossbar. Yeah.
I mean, the audacity to just like to see it, to try and loop it over.
Different technique as well.
Absolutely, and somebody else probably would have put foot for it, but she is an impactful player. She has a natural instinct in front of goal. And I mean, as I say, you've played with her, and do you then think, because I look at Agyemang and I watched her with the 19s, and I watched her when you had her at the 23s. Do you then think, for example, the England pathway is working? Because she's naturally 4 games, 3 goals, all as substitutes.
Yeah.
But she's naturally fitted into this group of players.
Yeah, I absolutely do think the England pathway is working when you think about the players that have made it into the senior setup, Agyemang being one of them, Aggie Beaver-Jones being another, Jess Park being another. Like, we are producing a number of players that have come through the England youth system. Grace Clinton, they've all come through that pathway. So that is positive because we're obviously doing something right in terms of trying to develop those players, make them ready for this level in terms of the mentality, the ability to handle that pressure, the ability to go and express themselves. Agyemang is a great example of that. She is so humble, the way she talks about the team and how she's only known them for 2 months, and she already feels that there's a togetherness. That's really important in terms of understanding the culture that she's come into that's allowed her to feel that she could deliver as well. But yeah, I think, we're going to have to review post-tournament, I think all of us, why haven't we managed to quite reach the performance levels that we expected from England and would have hoped for. In terms of impact, as you said earlier on, the only difference I would say in terms of those substitutions was Chloe Kelly. I think what she does differently is because she's such a ball carrier and a dribbler, like just engaging defenders, dribbling into the box causes a bit more of that like uncertainty for those defenders. Like if they're going to make a tackle, if they're going to stick a leg out. We needed some of that. And I think that's also kind of what she offers when she comes into the game. So that was a bit of a sort of impactful difference to some degree for England. But ultimately, the point is we've had to rely on these substitutions every game to come and bail England out and get us through to the final. Yeah, I mean, 1 minute away from going out of the tournament in normal time and 1 minute away from going to that penalty shootout, which I don't think any of us wanted to see again. So yeah, I mean, very lucky. But let's talk about the penalty. Yeah. Because I mean, the referee in play gave the penalty. Beth Mead obviously coming together with the defender. Would you have been happy if it was on the other foot? So if it was England in our box and that penalty was given against us, there's lots to talk about it. Absolutely not. Would I be happy? No, I would not be happy.
Do you think it was enough to give the penalty?
I think in that stage of the game, in the game context, no, I would have been absolutely livid if that was given against me, 100%. And I think it's tough because we've seen so much conversation around the penalty, and in the stadium when I saw it live, I thought it was a penalty at the time. Having seen it back a few times, I'm like, potentially, would not give it, because I've played as a defender when you're in set pieces defending a corner and you're trying to block a runner. It is a bit more physical in those scenarios, right? You are trying to use your arms and your limbs a bit more to stop the run. And it looked like there was a bit of contact from both players. Yeah. Like Beth was also giving it some, had a bit of a hold of her as well. And Severini's got a hold of her. But ultimately, what I will say is Italy did it to themselves, first from the initial clearance that led to the free kick. So that's on them. The second one was Severini in the box. At the end of the day, you're right in the eyesight of the referee. Like, if you're going to be savvy, you've got to be savvier than that, right? And she made the decision for the referee easy.
Yeah,
because
she
of just
did make
being a bit more, being too clumsy and a bit too obvious, I guess, with that contact. So from that instance, yeah, it's a penalty. You see it given. I absolutely seen it given a number of times, but as a defender, I would have been absolutely livid.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was just lots said about it, and I think the more you play it and you think about it and you think about contact that you're speaking about as players, that contact naturally happens in those areas.
Yeah.
It just felt in 180 or 90th minute of a semi-final of a European. It was just a bold decision from the referee, and one that I thought, maybe like if it was the opposite end, I'd been absolutely livid. To be fair,
Beth Mead is savvy, I think, in that moment. She knows I'm getting blocked.
She makes the
this player's going to check me. I've got some contact. And, if it's enough for her to go down, she's made the most of it in that scenario.
So what did you make of the penalty then? Chloe Kelly steps up.
Do you know what?
Keeper saves it. What did you think when the keeper saved it?
I was shocked. My nerves were shot. To be honest, my nerves were shot. But I fully... we've seen Chloe Kelly step up in so many moments and score penalties. So understandably, you're like, Chloe Kelly, absolutely. She's going to step up to this penalty. But something about the game made me think she's not going to score.
I thought the same.
The way the game had gone. I was saying that
at Box Park, I was like, she's missing this. And I don't know what made me say it.
It's just something, there
was so much going on as well, because Lucy Bronze and who else? Somebody else had the ball. Beth Mead, maybe. I think both of them had it, and I'm like, do they know who's taking it? And I know they do this whole new thing of, let me hold the ball for Anita to take the penalty type. But I was like, it doesn't feel right. Something didn't feel, but I mean, look, the reaction to missing and then following up was, unbelievable. And it shows the character, I guess, of Chloe. And then a celebration. Guys, calm down. I had it all under control. Do a little Thierry on you on the corner flag. But the confidence that Chloe is oozing at the minute. I mean, you think back to January and kind of all of what was going on at Manchester City and the statement that she come out, probably was thinking about, is football done for her? For this 6 months now, 8 months on from that, to be like a hero pretty much in this England team.
Transformational. She's had a transformational time after going through a difficult period, but now you've just seen her come into her own, shine like she has done in previous tournaments, and she's definitely, I think, utilised kind of all those things that she was going through from a negative sense and turned it into something positive and really showcasing what she's about. She, like you say, oozes confidence. You see that on the pitch. She looks like she wants to be the difference and take responsibility for the team to try and make things happen. And she's done exactly that. So, credit to her, and also to the subs that have come in, because they've all come in and done exactly what you want your finishers to do when they come into these games. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm going to talk in a minute, because I want to just a couple of mentions and then talk about Germany, Spain, the other semi-final, before we just talk about the differences or what we need in the final. Because for me, I believe our midfield need to be better as we come up against Spain, but we'll talk about that in a little while. But we have to congratulate Serina, the first manager ever, male or female, to reach 5 major tournament finals on the bounce. I mean, incredible achievement, and we keep writing her off. We keep questioning her tactics, right? I mean, that's unbelievable. 5 tournament finals from 2017 to 25, 2 different nations.
It's incredible that she's managed to achieve such a feat, but also I'm like, does Serina get any sleep? Because also to have 5 major tournaments, to go through that is so taxing, I think, for all the preparation that she does with her backroom staff, from a tactical tech lens as well, from the mental side of it, dealing with players, selection of players, dropping players, all of that takes an emotional toll on a manager. To deliver the kind of levels of success for the team has been transformational for English women's football as well, and on a domestic level as well, because it's made our league also one of the most attractive leagues in the world now, where we're getting some of the best players internationally and managers coming here. So, all of that as well, I think, is credit to Serina and the Lionesses and the impact of the journey they've been on. But I think... I don't know why we keep, I say we doubting, but we haven't doubted. We've always said in Serina we trust, but we're critiquing and we're questioning some of the decision making. Like, I know it must be so hard to be a manager,
absolutely,
and especially in these tournament settings with all the pressure and expectation and the tactical challenges you have in game as well. So, you know, credit to Serina, Ian and the rest of their technical staff, because, you know, it isn't easy. And we know it's not easy, but we are obviously critiquing every element of it. So, yeah, you know, well done, Serina. Got us into the final now. Can you get us that trophy, bring it home?
Exactly. You know what I've actually really enjoyed about Serina this tournament, which we haven't seen? We don't really see too much of her personality. Obviously, we've seen her to kind of be this like stern like manager, like I'm the boss, kind of like we do it this way and whatever. I mean, you even think back to the opening game against France and you saw personality on the bench. She was fuming with some of the decisions, the goal that wasn't and the goal that went against us and the foul on Russo. And you started to see a bit of personality. And I think throughout the tournament, and it was in the quarterfinal against Sweden when Joe Curry, you know, after the game and said, how do you feel? And she says, I feel like I'm 90 years of age. And then Joe Curry said, so how old do you feel now? She said 92. And I just thought it just showed a little bit of her personality, which I really enjoyed in this tournament because we actually haven't seen that before. Yeah. We haven't seen her kind of get out of that, like, you know, that poker face. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed that. But we have to give a shout out, Nate. It's obviously, you know, Jess Carter, you know, one of the England's key players actually in the tournament, put a statement out about the racist abuse she's had in tournament. Absolutely disgrace. And, you know, I mean, I think I speak for all of us is that these people that are writing and are given the platform to do that are definitely not fans of England women's football team. And so we can't call them fans. It ain't fans that are abusing. It's absolute idiots that are doing such things. But I mean, I think the real England fans, you know, the appreciation they showed for Jess, and you was out in Switzerland and you saw what the fans did before the game, the chants of her name, absolutely amazing. And at Box Park, they decided on the 16th minute to clap for a minute for Jess. So I just think these little gestures that the fans show that they are behind Jess and that the wider community and certainly the football community are behind her. And then obviously when she came into the game and obviously when she came into the warm-up, the fans in the stadium, I mean, you was there. What was that like?
Amazing. Like they all were like standing and clapping and singing her name. And I think she even said that she really felt the love and the support from the fans in the stadium and at home and the people that have messaged her. And I think it's so important that, you know, that she sees that and she feels that through something that's obviously, you know, no player or no individual should ever have to experience. But she's shown really great resilience. She's had no choice really but to be resilient. And credit to her and to those that are behind her because ultimately she's a key part of this squad. She's, you know, made a number of positive contributions to the team. And she's such a humble individual. And I think, you know, to see that solidarity as well with her teammates behind her is really important.
Yeah, no, as I say, it showed that there is, you know, massive support for Jess and that will continue. And as you said, talk about the character and resilience of her, and you know, it's powerful. Like, you know, we saw Bunny Shaw who suffered similar stuff in WSL, and then to face it head on in a tournament is very difficult. So yeah, credit to her and obviously the way that they've dealt with it collectively. But let's talk Spain-Germany semi-final. That was last night. Spain narrowly go for an extra time against Germany, but I mean, I covered the game, and you know what? Looking at that game, that was the game that I thought we both thought would be the final of the tournament. Obviously, Germany ended up on the real tough side of the draw, but it was a great game for a neutral in terms of the detail of the game of both teams, the way that they counted each other out, the way that they, you know, it was a game of chess for 120 minutes for me. And you know, as somebody that likes to watch the tactics of the game, I was literally intrigued and eyes were glued to the screen. But what did you make of it?
Yeah, again, like you said, I thought it was another fascinating matchup. A game where you're seeing two different styles of football up against each other. I think two kind of, you'd say, in the top current heavyweights of European football as well. Second and third ranking.
Yeah.
And I felt that, you know, again, it was a game that could have swung in any direction, really. Germany had been forced into several changes because of two players obviously being suspended. Hendrick in one of the last game. Nuskin as well. So key players out. So they've had to adapt. They started with Hoffman. Schuler started on the bench. I was like, oh, this is interesting. What's this going to be about? I thought in transition, Germany looked really dangerous. You know, dynamic, quick players that can ball carry, Brand, Bull. So, yeah, fascinating. And then Spain, as we always expect, control the ball, high line, But I thought Pertez was relatively quiet.
Yeah, I didn't know she was playing.
Wasn't as impactful as we've seen in other games. I'm a big fan of Patrick Guillaro. I felt like in terms of trying to read the game and break up play and retrieve the ball was like excellent in so many moments. Even the fouls that she committed were like important fouls. But again, I just felt like Berger, the two goalkeepers
both of
really
them.
A story of the two goalkeepers. You know, Ann-Katrin Berger making some fantastic saves. Kata Koi as well, you know, pulled out an unbelievable save in the dying minutes of the game. So it was brilliant. Again, my nerves were shot because I was like, I don't know what way this is going to go. No. What did you make of it?
Yeah, no, same. I was fascinated by it. I thought Germany were going to sit deep. I thought they were going to soak up pressure, which we know they can do. They don't mind suffering without the ball. I felt in terms of transition, I think they played off Hoffman because obviously she's more that target player that would allow players to join the attack, and obviously the wide players of Bull and Brown in terms of the pace that they can get up the pitch. And so I thought their game plan and their setup was going to frustrate Spain. I felt like they did frustrate Spain. I mean, first time I've seen the camera zoom in on Bonmati and you see a little bit of frustration on her. So I think Germany's game plan was good. I felt for Germany. They've obviously, you mentioned they've had injuries, they've had suspensions. They've got players playing out of position. What they are, and what we've known them to be over a long time, they are resilient. They are very well structured. Their defensive structure is but they are, more than anything, they are adaptable. And they showed that. They played the game in two halves. Sat very deep in the first half. Second half, they were front foot, aggressive, really come at Spain. And Spain had a few problems to solve. And Spain, again, then had to show their resilience defensively. But it was, I would say, a game of two halves. Spain really did dominate and put a lot of pressure in that first half, certainly the second half of the first half, so the final 20 minutes of that. Couple of chances, and Katrin Berger had to be at her very best. But then I felt in the second half, Germany really put it on them. And it was one of those, one where Spain wanted to control possession, Germany wanted to play in transition, and it kind of, they did it, really try and cancel each other out. But for a neutral, I mean, I could have watched another 120 minutes of it game. Because it was so good, and I didn't want to win them in normal time. But then, nobody wants to go out on penalties. I didn't really feel like any of them deserved to win. But Matti, haven't scored in 7 games, and, came into the tournament off the back of an illness that we thought she might miss the tournament. So for her to score, she was itching to get on the score sheet and make an impact and, get her name being spoken about again. And I still think it was a cross. I'm not sure she meant
really.
I'm not sure.
No way, Farah.
I'm not sure she meant. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt because we know her quality. I'm not sure she was squeezing it in there.
Are we going to get into arms over this?
No, I did yesterday with Ellen White. But Bonmati, when we always know in those big moments, she's a striker. She thought she shot. But in them big moments, we know that Bonmati's a big game player, and she absolutely stepped up. And that one mistake from Ann-Katrin Berger in terms of her positioning and anticipating the cross, opening up a small gap at the near post, ended up being costly, and the game decider. So it was. Yeah, frustrating because I don't think Germany deserved to go out in that way.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Given everything they overcome and kind of challenges put in front of them. But I think what it showed for Spain, sorry, before you come in, is that it showed that they haven't been put at the intensity until that game.
They haven't been as tested.
So you think they played Portugal in the opening game, then Belgium in the second game, then Italy, then they had Switzerland. So if you talk about rankings and really testing them and putting them under pressure, they hadn't had that test. So I think they'll be thankful that Germany gave them that in the semi-final, and they'll be thankful that they've gone through, and now they know the levels they need to be at in order, if they are to beat England in that final.
Yeah, I think a bit of relief for them as well, because
you felt that
they're the world champions. They haven't reached a semi-final since, is it 90?
They've only ever been in two European finals. That is crazy, right?
Which is insane when you think about how we picture and how we describe Spain of today. So this is a massive thing for them. But I just felt that, we talked, going back to the goal, of course I definitely felt that was a shot. I genuinely did. Like, I felt that spotted the gap, that she could just smash it and hit it as hard as she could. She just hit it as hard as she could. But, because she's a Ballon d'Or winner, you're like, of course it's Bonmati.
And for that reason, I would agree. For that reason, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. But actually, I thought the defending, I thought she was trying to get her foot round it to wrap it across the box. And Ann-Katrin Berger also thought the same.
Yeah, but
I don't think anything about her positioning, her foot plant, or any of that suggested she was shooting.
Yeah.
None of it. She ain't got that much disguise. I know she's world class and Ballon d'Or and FIFA best and all that, but I'm not sure.
I think we're gonna disagree, but I do think.
But it was a good finish.
It was an amazing finish.
It was the only place you could put it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think at this, these critical stages of the game, and Katrina has had a fantastic tournament. She's one of the best goalkeepers I've ever played with. And, when you're coming up against the quality of individuals on both sides, those are the defining moments of decisions, isn't it? I think that she, like you said, made the, anticipated that she was going to cross. Yeah. And you could see her pointing to defenders.
Yeah, defending. That's what I'm saying.
And it was at that point in the game, I just felt like that at that moment, she has to focus on herself and her position and what her responsibility and job is, and trust that her defenders are in the right space. They might not be, but and unfortunately that was the difference.
Neats, your favourite part of it. Fans questions powered by Pepsi Max.
Here we go.
Over to you.
Let's start with Claire_Bear McComb. How big a loss will LJ be if unfit like the World Cup final?
Yeah, I think a big loss. We was talking about it yesterday, actually, with Ellen White, and she thought that actually maybe we don't start with LJ. But I think there's two ways. It depends how England approach the game against Spain. Because if we talk about we're going to play without the ball and we want to high press and whatever, then maybe, I understand it from that point of view. LJ is probably not, if you talk about other personnel, there's probably other people that do that role a little bit better. But if they beat our press and then we need somebody that's going to be in possession to carry the ball up the pitch, there's no better player than Lauren James to do that. And we miss that when we play against the likes of Spain, when we need a carrier of the ball, somebody that don't mind staying on it, don't mind allowing, getting us territory in the game. So I think she's absolutely key to this game. And it suits her. She likes playing against ball-playing opposition. Do you know what I mean? So I think that, I know everyone's saying, should Beth Mead start? Should Chloe Kelly? Should we make changes? I think the team that we've been playing will be the team that we should go with. And I think, for me, LJ has to play in that game. She was the missing part. In terms of that, I think I think more so for when we are not going to have as much possession as they do. So what you then need is people that are comfortable in staying on the ball and gaining territory, and LJ does that better than anyone. Yeah,
and I think I agree with you, but I also wonder if we need an injection of some fresh legs, because I felt like we looked tired in the last game. We've played 2 games when we've gone into added time. Whatever game plan we deploy, whether that's a defensive strategy, we're going to need to press. So I feel like in the front line, are we going to make 1 or 2 changes to just give that injection of energy? Or are we going to start like we started every single game slowly, aside from the Netherlands game? I do think we might need some changes there if we're just going to see that. But in terms of LJ...
But LJ was this is the thing, LJ was in that Netherlands game where we high pressed, where we was fast and aggressive.
Yeah, no,
in our approach.
But I think LJ should play. I think she should play again, like you say, it depends on the game plan strategy. If we're going to sit back in a bank and wait for Spain to try and make mistakes or force them wide into wide areas and not allow them those central lines to operate in, then maybe, like you say, LJ isn't the best player to deploy that kind of strategy. But in terms of in possession, she is our best ball carrier. She is our most creative player when we can find her and get her into situations to create. So, we need that. We have lacked that. We've lacked a bit of ingenuity and creativity and solution solving and finding, and problem solving. And I think she has a bit of a fear factor as well to any opposition player, because you never know what to expect because of how good she is on both feet as well. Interesting. But it'll be interesting to see. The other question is from Sarah_1991. What is the moment of the tournament so far? It
could be either of Agyemang's goals, the equaliser against Sweden, or the goal. I think I would say equaliser against Italy. Yeah, because I thought we were dead and buried. So that is a moment that I will remember forever, because I was on my way out of Box Park, 95th minute. So, that's a moment that brought me straight back in.
I agree. I was going to say Agyemang. just Agyemang, general, full stop, because we was all ready to pack our bags, so many times. Unbelievable. So I agree. The last question is from L Freestone 23. Ella Toone, player of the tournament, ? Her off the ball work is phenomenal.
I think she's had an exceptional tournament.
Yeah.
She played her way into the tournament after the opening game against France when she came in as a substitute, and then obviously started that Netherlands game. I would agree. I think her impact without the ball in terms of off ball running and it's. I mean, Italy, she ran her socks off. I felt like she's really given that energy to the team. I think in moments, in possession, you're probably asking a little bit more of her. But in terms of her overall play, she's certainly been above probably a 6 in every game, and that's being generous in an England team that have really underperformed. I think she has been one of the standouts in terms of that. I think sometimes for fans, bare minimum they want from you is somebody that is going to show that intent, that endeavour to do the right things even if things aren't going right. And I do think that Ella Toone has definitely shown that for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ella Toone wasn't maybe in my original 11 going into this competition. The fact that she stepped in and been such a key player in that attacking midfield role, credit to her. She obviously came into the competition off the back of a minor injury as well. She has shown that she can have the impact that we wanted to see over the course of 90 minutes and not just over short periods of time. And I think she kind of probably goes under the radar a bit in terms of her work rate, but also her deep runs from midfield and how crucial they are to breaking down opposition, and also just the relationship she has with Russo. It just clicks, doesn't it, when they're on the pitch between the two of them. So I'm really happy that she's had, on an individual level, a really good showing and account of herself, and she absolutely deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. But guys, thanks for listening to Boots, Balls and Bras, powered by Pepsi Max. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe to never miss an episode. Our next episode will be dropping on Friday afternoonish, a little preview of England versus Spain. So make sure you look out for that one. But again, thanks for listening, and we'll be back with a preview on Friday.